Alright guys, so today we got a walk-in cooler, low profile coil, and it's holding steady about 50 degrees. So I just got here, just got this ladder out, just got my probe up there, and we are going to let that run for a little bit. Now this right here is basically our return. It pulls air in this way and then blows it out the side. That's what these low profile coils do. So I'm testing my air at my return. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but there's a little bit of a drip going on over there. I don't know what that's from yet. I did check our drain. Our drain is nice and clear. So I think my next step is going to be check my thermostats, make sure it's set properly, and then I'm actually going to take this whole coil and drop it down, make sure everything's nice and clean on the inside. Alright guys, let me give you a quick little tour here. Up right there you'll see our little TXV with our two little distribution lines going to either side of our evaporator coil. There's our little liquid line solenoid up there. Yes, that is an externally equalized TXV as well. The thing that I immediately noticed is weird. We got a little bit of ice building up over here. Not really sure what's causing that yet. All our fans are spinning the right way. Our coil's not dirty. Our airflow seems to be correct. So I'm not sure if maybe we just had some standing water that was building up in this evaporator coil, causing that to freeze up. We'll have to look into that a little bit further. If you'll notice over there, one of my wires pulled off because somehow it wasn't long enough, and I dropped this evaporator cover and just kind of pulled it apart. So I'll have to address that in a few minutes here. So nothing alarming at this point yet, guys. So we just gotta keep on digging. All right. I got my evaporator fans wired back in there. I secured it a little bit better. Also went through here, just made sure all my wiring was nice and tight right up in there. No loose wiring or anything like that. I believe I figured out the reason why we were dripping around the two middle fans in the center there. If you look very closely right there, there's a middle post that the evaporator panel should have been screwed to. It was only screwed to this side and then the far side. And I believe what was happening was that middle section was sagging a little bit. It's not a very deep pan, and there is a grade to it, of course, that leads over to that drain. And I think with that middle screw being out, we didn't have enough grade to drain all the water. I believe a little bit of it was puddling up around the middle fans there. So when I put this back together, I'll have obviously put that screw back in there. And that could have been the reason why we had water puddling up, a little bit of water freezing onto our coil. But it doesn't really explain our 46-degree return air temperature on this unit just yet. We still got to get upstairs, get some eyes on the condenser. Now that I know my airflow through my evaporator is okay, we'll get this put back together and, like I said, get up on the roof. Just wanted to point this out real quick, guys. This thermostat right here has the sensing bulb mounted to the side. Now, obviously our airflow blows up the side, so that makes this our return air. So the sensing bulb should be in our return airstream, which would be right here. It looks like it was at one point in time, but for whatever reason it was moved. So before I head on upstairs, I'm going to move that sensing bulb right over here, and then we'll get up there and get some eyes on our condenser. Alright, real quick, I just wanted to show you the grade on this drain pan. And if you follow the lines on the evaporator, you can kind of tell there's just an ever so slight pitch to the far end down there where our drain is. So we got that all back in shape. I'm going to tighten that middle screw down and get upstairs. We're looking at our condensing coil, our condensing unit for that walk-in cooler. So far I haven't seen anything obvious. When I got up here it was running. Then it sounded like it pumped down and shut off. Which is kind of odd because when I was leaving the box, it was about 50 degrees still in there. So I can't imagine that by the time it took me to get from downstairs, climb up the ladder, drag all my stuff up here, that it actually reached temp and shut off. But maybe. We'll have to revisit that in just a little bit. I'm going to go downstairs and make sure that thermostat is set properly. But as you can see, our condensing coil is nice and clean. A little bit of back story to this unit. Friday we were here to repair this unit because it was warm again, and what we found Friday night was the evaporator coil was a complete block of ice. And so I got the coil thawed out, and what I found was 3 out of the 4 evaporator fan blades were flipped upside down. So the scoop on the fan blade was facing the wrong direction, so it wasn't properly scooping the air and pushing it up through the sides of the evaporator coil, right? So it was obviously moving some air, but with the scoop being backwards like that, it was pushing the air up into the evaporator coil, probably tumbling it around a little bit. Obviously, it's not an ideal situation, so we were probably moving maybe 70% of the air through the actual coil. So we thawed that out, flipped the blades around, and the following day, we had another issue where it was starting to creep up in temperature again. So we had another technician come out here. He cleaned our condensing coil, double-checked everything, and didn't find a whole lot wrong. The thermostat was wired improperly. That was taken care of. That was actually on me. I had put the common wire in the wrong spot, unfortunately. But in my defense, it was 11 o'clock at night after a 15-hour day. Not making excuses, but it happens. I'm humble enough to admit I made that mistake. So far, I haven't found anything wrong except the sensing bulb being placed up on the side of the coil like that, down at the evaporator coil, of course. Not being in the return like that, I feel that sensing bulb isn't obviously going to read an accurate temperature. It might actually read colder, and since the metal side is so close to the actual evaporator coil, and it's going to conduct a little bit of cold from the actual copper plating to that stainless steel plating, I feel that sensing bulb probably sensed a colder temperature than what it actually was. So that's why the box was at about 50 and the unit thought I was at about 38, 40 and shut off. But right now that's just my idea. I haven't found a smoking gun yet, if you will. So, all right, well, let me go downstairs, double check that thermostat, make sure we're set properly. Then I'm going to come back upstairs. I think I want to attach my gauges just to be absolutely sure we don't have any sort of other issues. I want to get a good accurate read on our superheat subcooling, everything I can get at this point to make sure this unit's handled properly. All right, guys. So let me go check out that thermostat downstairs. Now, our thermostat seems to be acting somewhat erratic. When I got down here, my little probe was about 49, 50 degrees, and we were off until I bumped the minimum maximum differential on this thermostat. As soon as I just kind of bumped it, it came back on. So I don't know what's going on with that. That's a brand new thermostat as of Friday. Now, I bumped it, and we're still cooling like we should be. Let me show you here. We have no voltage differential, no potential difference between these two holes right there. So we're still cooling. Well, actually, no, I take that back. We just stopped cooling. As you can tell, we are at 45 degrees, and we're set to about 35 degrees. See? Now, for the guys just starting out, I know that we are open because now we have a potential difference across there. When I had 0, that switch was closed. That's why I read no potential difference across these two leads. So, I think since I now question that thermostat, I'm just going to swap it out. I don't really trust it at this point, so I'm going to swap it out, and then we're going to continue digging into this thing, alright guys? We got a new thermostat in place. We are open. That's why we have 208 volts across it. We are at 51 degrees. That means once I crank this dial right to a hair below 50, we should hear our solenoid click in place. There it is. So this one already seems to be a little bit more accurate, but I'm going to stand here on this ladder and watch it. We'll just make sure that it is closed. Yep, no potential difference across our leads, so we are closed. All right. Now, I'm going to sit back and watch. Alright, our unit's running, new thermostat is on, so we're going to get our gauges hooked up. And as I always do, I'm going to start with the high side, and I'm going to purge my gauges using the high side. Alright, my high side is on. I close these two ports right here. And I open up my gauges. This way I'm feeding refrigerant through my high side, through my gauges into my little hoses here. Now I'm going to open my high side right here. I'm just going to bleed a little bit of refrigerant through here. There we go. Now we are purged. Now most moisture or anything else that would have been inside my gauges is now out. Can't get on my low side because I apparently need a T. Alright, let me run downstairs and grab a T for this real quick and show you what I'm talking about right here. I don't know if you can still hear me, but see, right back here, I can't get on there because it's too close to our liquid line. Alright, let me go grab a T. Alright guys, here's our T. I'm going to connect it to my low side, and then we can get our low side pressure. Our refrigerant over to 404. Alright, R404. So far we're looking pretty good. It's about 80 degrees out here. I'm going to get a more accurate temperature in a second here. I got a 28 degree evaporator, 111 degree condensing temperature. '24 superheat, which is good. My subcooling's not coming through for some reason.
just moved my liquid line probe to the other side of my receiver. Give that a few minutes to stabilize, see what our subcooling is. Alright, I got a 24-degree superheat. It says I have about 2 degrees of subcooling, which is not accurate, of course. I need to have around 10. I'd settle for 5 even, but I prefer 10. Now the other thing I did is I didn't clean that pipe that I connected to, so that could also be an issue. And it looks like we're pumping down right now. We must have achieved our thermostat setting. So while we're at it, let's see what it pumps down to, all right? I think 5 is, it's a little high. I would prefer that to pump down to closer to 2. Now we are holding, you can see that right there, we're holding our low side at 6 pounds, so it's not moving a whole lot. That means our compressor valves must not be leaking by at all, which is good. We just need to watch the unit cycle one more time and make sure that my adjustment is a little bit closer to 2 for the cutout pressure. Our cut-in pressure on this one about 30. So, all right guys, well I'm gonna go downstairs and check the temperature inside of our box and see how it's going. All right, we just got down here to our box. Our return air is 44. It only took me a few minutes to get here and open that door, so we should have been a little closer to 38, 40. So I'm going to go ahead and lower that a little bit more. I would have preferred to put like a Ranco digital control on there. This particular customer wants the mechanical control. Looks like we just kicked back on. And our thermostat went off. Now, from the time it took me to get downstairs, or get from upstairs to downstairs, I don't know if anybody was walking in and out of here, but I can't imagine that that would have made that big of a difference. Just a little bit of time. So we just kicked back on, and I'm gonna stick around and see exactly what it shuts off at. We're back up on the roof, watching our pressures. I left the thermostat set where it was so I can watch it pump down and see what our cutout temperature is. Our subcooling's still pretty low. I checked our sight glass. It's nice and full. I might add a little bit of R404 just to get our subcooling up there a little bit. Now we should be pumping down any minute now. Here we are, it looks like we are pumping down. Let's see what our cutout pressure is. That'll be this number right over here. I want to see that number get down to about 2. right, 0 is not too bad. That's a little too low for me, though. I'm going to adjust it just a little bit. All right. And now I am back downstairs in the box. So, we're at 43. I just turned the thermostat down to 30 because I was still cycling off about 45, 46 degrees. Now, I'm starting to believe that the other thermostat wasn't bad necessarily, but I've always known that these mechanical thermostats are a little bit touchy, a little bit flaky, where if you set it on this number, that's not the exact number that it shuts off at. And I wonder if the body of this thermostat being so close to the coil is actually affecting the temperature that it shuts off at. That's my theory anyway. But we're down to 30 now, so by my calculations, that should shut us off at about 36 or 38, roughly. So, we'll see. We'll let it run for a little while, and we'll come back when she shuts off, alright, and see what temperature we're at. And we're back on the roof. Alright, we're pumping down. I'm not sure what my box temperature is right now, but remember, we pumped down to 0 last time, and I think it was about 9 before that. So, fingers crossed, we were closer to, I would even settle for upwards of 5, between 2 and 5. Yeah, alright, I can live with that. And you'll notice our subcooling was much better this time too. The subcooling, I didn't do anything as far as the charge. I just relocated my liquid line temperature probe, my temperature clamp. I just put it over here. I kind of felt like since I had the top on the box, and the reason I had the top on this condensing unit was because of the rain, and I felt like all the heat coming off the condenser was affecting the temperature clamp's reading, because I had it right around the dryer. I was trying to get it about 6 inches away from the condensing coil itself, which would have put it around the top of that dryer, which is okay, but like I said, I was getting just a ton of heat pouring off that condensing unit, or the condensing coil rather, just pouring right onto that temperature probe, that temperature clamp, and like I said, I think that was skewing my measurement. So I'm gonna run downstairs, check that box temp, and see where we stand, all right? Alright, let's check our return temperature. Looks like our thermostat cover fell down. It was at about 39, but it is rising. So I'm going to turn that down just a touch more. And actually, I think what I'm going to do for an even more accurate test, I'm going to rig up a temperature probe from inside here, and then we'll run it outside and measure it from outside. Alright, so I have the probe for my fancy thermostat here. I have that sitting up next to my sensing bulb, and we're reading 37.2 return air temperature. So we are doing pretty good. And that is with the thermostat set to 28 degrees. So, and again, that goes back to, I believe, that thermostat body being mounted so close to the evaporator coil itself is actually skewing its ability to maintain a proper temperature. So I think that's why I have to set it a little bit colder. It's because the body of the thermostat is actually so cold. So I think we're going to leave it at about 28 degrees. I'm going to put a little mark on there so anybody else who comes in knows that that thermostat is designed for an offset, or that I have it set up for an offset of about 10 degrees. But perhaps one day my customer will allow me to put a KE2 or a Renko controller in here. That's what I recommended, but like I said before, they're just not keen on that idea, so I'm not going to force them. But we're at 37 degrees, guys, so we're good to go. All right? Like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one, all right?